In this lesson, we will learn how to implement regular expressions. Matching patterns with regular expressions basically has three steps. First, you come up with a pattern to find. Then, you compile it into a pattern object. And lastly, apply the pattern object to an input string to find matches. Rachel already took us through the first step in the previous lesson. We will now look at other two steps and some examples given in the notebook. In our second step in implementing regular expressions, we create a pattern object. Before we do that, let's first import regular expressions. To create a pattern object, we do the following. Here, we create a pattern object called pattern object using the given pattern. Using this pattern object, we will now find matches in an input string. This matches the pattern in the input and assigns it to the matches variable. Let's now test this on a sample input and a given pattern combination. Here our pattern is fox and we've created a pattern object called pattern matcher, and this is our given input. Let's run this code to see the output. We see that this gives an output object with some useful details. We can pull this information out using these given functions. Start gives the starting index of the pattern, end gives the ending index of the pattern, and group gives what the pattern has been matched. Until now, we saw how to create a pattern object, and finding matches in the input using that object. We will now look at an alternative way where we can skip the creation of a pattern object. This technique is very useful when we are searching for infrequently used patterns. The next code cell gives you an example of that. Here, we are directly searching for a pattern called jump in the given input using re.search. This part contains different ways in which we can search for patterns in a given input. Match determines if the re matches at the beginning of the string. Search scans through a string looking for any location where the re matches. And find all finds all substrings where the re matches and returns them as a list. You can go ahead and try out some of these methods using sample inputs and patterns. Before we move on to some of the exercises, we will look at one last interesting aspect of using regular expressions. Let's look at the below code cell. Here we search for patterns in groups. Let's run the code cell to look at the results. The results are split in three groups. This is done by enclosing a particular pattern in parentheses. The results are these three groups that we've grouped. We can also name these groups as shown in the next code cell. To tag a pattern, we write Now, instead of getting all the groups, we can search for a specific tag as this example shows. We see that we have now separated based on the tags. Using what we've learned, give the rest of the exercises in this notebook a try yourself, and once you finish them successfully, you are ready to move on to the next topic.